Welcome back to In Pursuit of Magic, where we explore the things that inspire us, connect us, and the magic we find along the way. I'm Matthew Medina, and today's very special guest is an incredibly talented actress and singer who's been part of some iconic productions, such as In the Heights, A Chorus Line, The Addams Family, Beauty and the Beast, and Dear Evan Hansen. She's currently starring in the national tour of The Great Gatsby. I'm very, very excited to welcome Valeria Ceballos. Valeria, thank you so much for being on. Just seeing the stuff you've been part of and that you are now Daisy in The Great Gatsby. I mean, that's huge. So congratulations, first of all.
Thank you.
Thank you
I'm
for being
actually
on.
not Daisy in The Great Gatsby. I'm in the ensemble and I understudy her, but thank you.
Oh, but still, that's taking on the role. I think that
Yes,
counts. That's the important part
thanks.
because that means you have to be ready at a moment's notice,
Absolutely.
and it's a huge deal. And it happens more often than not. I'm assuming, especially on a tour, like that's.
Mhm.
I've heard people's like kind of jumping through hoops and having to be kind of like an athlete when you're on tour because you're moving from city
Absolutely.
to city. You don't know what to expect with the theater and the
Mhm.
crowd and the travel. Sometimes you don't get much of downtime. So tell me a little bit about that experience of kind of how you prepare for that, especially if you're understudying and you're in the ensemble. I mean, you really have to be ready to like jump into action.
Yeah, it definitely is, like you said, like an athlete. You just kind of have to keep up your training. Like this week has been very nice to just kind of rest and um my roommate and I have been like watching our videos. We have like some archival videos of the show so that we make sure that we're keeping track of like where our people are at any moment on the stage. It's just a constant like I'm always going over her stuff, and I always also cover Jordan, so I'm kind of doing a double duty in my mind. While I'm also trying to, upkeep my ensemble role. And thankfully my ensemble stuff has been kind of second nature at this point. We've been on the tour for about 2 months now, so that's kind of been a nice like relaxation into my body and maintaining that energy while kind of putting other stuff in my mind has been a little easier to juggle. But yeah, it's definitely like you have to have a lot of energy to upkeep all three roles if that's what you're doing on the tour, making sure on like travel days that you like actually like rest. It's a lot of like maintenance, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah. Maintenance, self care, which,
Hmm.
which is difficult when you're on the move and traveling on a tour. Um,
Absolutely.
Have you had to step in? Like, how many times do you think you had to step in the past couple months?
I've done Daisy 4 times, and that was a vacation, so thankfully I knew in advance that I would be going on, so it wasn't like a surprise or anything. Um, but I haven't gone on for Jordan yet, so that's something that's upcoming. Um, and yeah, I don't know. It's always a gamble when I'll go on next, but, yeah, I've only gone 4 times so far.
That's amazing though, because it means you have to be prepared to step into different shoes. And
Exactly.
yeah, that's a lot of. I mean, I hand it to you. Anyone who's in that role has to take on a lot and memorize a lot and just be ready to
Mhm.
go. So it's a big deal. And
Yeah.
I'm sure such a big show that's very popular and inspires a lot of people, and of course is based on book. Um, there's a lot of inspirations there, and I think a musical theater in general can be very inspiring to different people. And so I'm wondering, for you as a performer, whether it's acting or singing, what were your first inspirations that made you want to be a performer from a young age?
I started dancing when I was very young. I was, like, constantly dancing in my mom's living room, and she was like, "Alright, we need to put her in a studio, like, give her something to do." So I started dancing, like, ballet and tap very, very young. But I didn't really know about musical theater until around, like, 5th grade. My English teacher was amazing, still love her, Miss Castner. Miss Paws now, she got married. But she, um loved the musical Wicked, and she found a way to incorporate Wicked into her English lessons during our classes, and we were lucky enough to have, the tour, the Wicked tour come into the Broward Center because 'cause I'm from Fort Lauderdale, and that was my first musical experience, and I was just kind of like, whoa, because 'cause I've always been very emotive. I had just, like, recently learned that I could, like, sing, in like chorus, like, but I wasn't in anything intense besides dance. So like I didn't really know that I could really feel the music and act and then also sing and then dance like that. It was until a little later, I guess, in life, because a lot of people figure that out very soon. But I honestly didn't even start pursuing this until like end of high school. Wicked really, like, always kinda just stuck with me, and I always, like, thought about it and, like, really wanted that and didn't know how to do it, but it was always just, like, a strong inspiration for me, and it still is, like, will always be my number 1. I love Wicked.
Absolutely, and understandably. I mean, it is such a powerful show, and I'm wondering then, with those being your inspirations, was there a moment when you started to be in musicals and in theater that you really felt like, "This is where I belong, and this is what I wanna do?"
Yeah, I think, another teacher honestly, teachers are the best. That's what gets you through. Um, mm, Her name is Miss Giddings, and she had it was just like an elective class, and I always chose the acting ones, of course. And, it was just like an acting one, and I sang The Wizard and I, and, she was like, "You have to audition for the musicals." And at the time, this was freshman year of high school, and I was kinda starting to die out of my dance studio, for various reasons, but I couldn't do any other after school activity because I would go straight from school to dance. Um, and so I was like, I don't know if I should, like, I don't know if I can audition for the musicals. Like, that's going to be a lot of time. Like, I wouldn't be able to do both. But I was like, you know what? Like, maybe this is a sign of like something that's going to get me to leave the dance studio that I wasn't very happy with anymore and like pursue something new. Like, that would be really cool. And at the time, they were doing Aida. So I was in final callbacks for Aida at like I was like 15, maybe. Yeah, 14, 15. And I didn't get it, which was totally fine. I don't know what I would have done. But I fell in love with it. I was like, "Oh, this is amazing." Like I could dance and I was really good at it and I didn't even know that I've never done it before. And then I auditioned for Belle and Beauty and the Beast my sophomore year and I got that. And I think that's like when it clicked. That's when I was like, "Oh, I would love to do this for the rest of my life." And I've always like I mean, I know that you see that
Yeah.
your beautiful poster back there, like, Beauty and the Beast has always been so, so special to me. I have, like, a picture of me as a little girl, in a Belle costume, like, it's always just been my one of my favorite princesses. So, being able to play her and, like, just at so young to have someone, like, trust me like that and to, like, lead a show, which I didn't even know what that meant at the time, but I was capable of it, I guess. Um, like that really kind of meshed everything together and I was like, "Ooh, this is good." Did I know how to do it? Not at all, but I really, really wanted to, so I figured it out eventually.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of learning by doing, and
Yes.
it's amazing that that was the moment for you and the experience, because I also think when it comes to Disney movies in general and, Beauty and the Beast being one of the biggest and my favorite,
Mhm.
that's kind of our first exposure to musicals as
Yeah,
kids. Which is such a big
exactly.
deal, and it's amazing to hear so many people who are actors and singers and dancers say that there was a movie like that that inspired
Mhm.
them to start with, or was one of their first roles, because it just goes to show how they caught the bug, and
Yeah,
they felt the magic of it. So it's
absolutely.
amazing, and then, yeah, learning by doing. I mean, you stepped into that role, and I feel like every experience a performer has kind of prepares them for whatever's coming next in their career, and you
Mhm.
starting with that, I think was huge, and it's a
Yeah.
sign of everything else to come.
Yeah, I think I had a very lucky high school experience, in my very sweet public high school. Like it was just the when you are a part of something that's just because of the love of it, and it's not anything like we didn't have a big budget. We didn't have like a lot of knowledge on like what we were doing. It was kind of all love, and that was, I think, a great way of starting it because I've through school and stuff, I have found my way back to that moment um, where I can finally like put everything together. But sometimes like training, like the intensity of this like industry can be very like you can lose that magic, like you talk about on the podcast. But like finding that magic that you originally found when you were, like, first discovering your love for this is, like, I think what keeps uh, this career healthy for you.
And so important too. It's funny you
Mhm,
bring that up because I was gonna ask, like, how do you keep that magic alive within yourself? Because in any industry, but especially in a creative industry, there are a lot of closed doors, missed opportunities, a lot of no's, sometimes no response at all. And
mhm.
that could always be disheartening, especially when you feel so connected to this dream. And so for you, what are those moments and how do you overcome them to keep that fire lit?
It is a lot of passion and stubbornness. I am very stubborn. Honestly, one of the best things that ever happened to me was a no. Um, I went to college, like I mentioned before, I had no idea what I was doing, and I got uh, rejected from the BFA program. I tried again the next year when I finally knew kind of what I was doing, still got rejected. And I think that was the best thing I could have heard. And so I think I started collecting no's as a motivation. And of course, that's not easy. I've always like had a hard time with rejection as anyone would. And so I think that the key is to not let it be an end all be all. Um, of course, you should always have hope. You should always have dreams. And I think not caring at all is also just not. And I can't do that. I cared way too much. But I think surrounding yourself with people that one understand the industry as well and are there for you, and two, like trust in your abilities, because you have to do that for yourself as well. And it's always nice to have that reflected back at you. But truly, three, most importantly, is that you trust your skills. And I think, I mean, I'm almost 30, and that is something that I'm like finally starting to like grasp and like confidently be able to do like every day. But it was hard. It's very hard to have that self confidence, and um, without that, I think it is very, very hard to excel in this industry because you are a reflection of what you believe in yourself. And if you go into that room and you believe, "Oh, I don't know what I'm doing," most of the time, the table can tell. And most of the time, that's what you reflect. So it is fake it till you make it sometimes, and sometimes it's, like, really, like, no, like, for this job, I was like, "No, I am great for this job. I know I can do this." And I think that was very apparent in the signs that I was getting in the universe, but also from myself and from the team that finally, like, believed in me. So yeah, I think yourself, people around you is really key.
Yeah, I think it's very important. And I think a key word in that is redirection and
Mhm,
like you said, trusting yourself. I know in my own experience, when I first had the idea for this podcast, I was very hesitant to do this myself. And
mhm,
I was talking to an actor who ended up becoming my co-host, and we were planning stuff out, and it didn't work out. And they were a lot more natural to this. This was new for
mhm,
me. And once they couldn't do it anymore, because they were busy, I had kind of the option to not do anything or to try
mhm.
to redirect this and do it
Yeah.
myself. And it came down to me trusting myself, and that was hard. It was
Yeah,
kind of
it is
life just
hard.
pushing me into it.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's a lot of trusting in yourself and believing that you have something to bring to the table, I think is super
Mhm.
important. And then, you spoke a little bit about the people you surround yourself with. I think community is a huge part of anything, but especially I think in a creative industry. And so
Yeah.
for you, you spoke a little bit about like getting back to that and feeling that feeling again. Where do you find the magic most in community? Is it in your theater community? Is it community in your culture or just friendships or all of the above?
I think it's all of the above. What comes to mind is like New York in general. I think New York can be very, very scary, and you can feel very alone. But if you take the risk and you put yourself out there, you get all of the above. There's so much theater, there is so much community and culture and your friends. Like most of my friends that are in New York that I miss very dearly are people that I met at a restaurant that I worked at. Um, People that I've connected with that I speak Spanish with, or like people in the kitchens, like that I love so much. And that's kind of, like, what kept me going in between all the auditions, all in between all the things that, like, bring me joy. Like, no, I didn't wanna be a server and, like, make coffee all the time, but that's the community that kept me together. And I'm lucky enough to, like, also know people from previous shows that have been, like, amazing friends to me, my partner I was in a show with. So, like, I've definitely collected people, along the way, and so I think it's all of the above. If you're lucky enough to really make those connections with as many people as you can. I mean, so there's contracts that will last 2 weeks, contracts that will last 2 years, um, and anyone that you can kind of grasp that, like, matches your energy and matches your passion is, like, the best thing you can do for yourself.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot of chosen family that you make
Yeah,
along the way, and even the people
absolutely.
that you're not as close with but connect with. I
Yeah,
think there's an importance of kind of a shared experience, and I think that's the hard part in this industry also, where each dream feels very individual and personal. And
yeah,
sometimes the hard parts feel very lonely. And yet
mhm,
there's so many people going through it too. Not
yeah,
everyone talks openly about it though. We see the successes online and on Instagram. We don't see the other parts.
yeah,
And I think it's important to talk about because it shows like you're not alone and we're in this. And it's also not everything. Like there's other things in life that are so important, so beautiful that
yeah,
you can pour your passions into.
and
And
that
so I'm
you
wondering,
should pour
yeah,
your
oh,
passions
so
into.
important too.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
essential. Where do
mhm.
you pour passions into in other areas of your life? And what advice would you give to anyone else who is chasing a dream but are kind of overwhelmed by all the obstacles?
Um, I have been very lucky in knowing the importance of, like, finding a human job. I've been working since I was, like, 15. My first job was at Claire's, and just learning about people in general, from the shoppers to the coworkers, has been so world building for me. I think that is an essential skill that a lot of people don't have to have, I guess, for their privilege in life, but I think it's so important to at least be in that type of community, because that teaches you to put your energy somewhere else. Um, and to put your, like, hard work into something else, like, it teaches you discipline, it teaches you, like, structure, especially outside of school now that we don't have any, like, set schedule sometimes, like, it is I think that's very vital to what my life is like and what that has been in between shows, but I also I love other things, like, that are also creative, like, I love doing makeup, I love doing my nails, I just
From
did them
now.
yesterday, like, I spent all day yesterday, and I, like, was so happy just, like, literally, like, spending hours and hours on end, doing my nails and, um, my hair and stuff, like, just, like, different things that like, some people like to draw, some people like to paint, some people love clothes, and, like, there's different hobbies that are still creative and that you can physically touch and you can do whenever you would like. And I think that is really, really important to pour yourself into, along with the work that you're doing, because it staying creative also helps you stay creative in the work that you're doing on stage. You know, like, yesterday I put on purple eyeshadow, and it changed who I was, and it's so silly to think that, but, like, it was when you're doing 8 shows a week, sometimes the p purple eyeshadow is something that's gonna, like, change who you are. So, like, when you're doing day to day and you're not on stage, like, what will that purple eyeshadow do for you? You know, like, it's so silly, but there's a lot of things that are, like, so small that people just don't think about. A job, like nails, rings on your fingers. Like I think there's so much beauty in little things that if you just pause and just wait for things, it kind of just helps move your career along. While it's not even while you're not actually actively doing something.
Yeah, and I think that's the magic, like you said, in all the little things. I think
Hmm.
that's what keeps us going. I think that's what keeps us with our fire lit. And
Yeah.
kind of someone once said about having your passion be in multiple things, no matter how big or small, because you're more than one thing. Like as
Hmm.
humans, we're more than one thing. And sometimes we have
Yeah.
to remind ourselves of that because yeah, when things do get hard, even if it's not in a creative space, let's say you're into academia or something else, and
Yeah,
if things aren't going your way, you don't want to tie your self-value to that just one thing because
yeah,
you're so much more than that. And
yeah,
so I think that's such an important piece of advice. And it just goes to show about pursuing like happiness, pursuing like joy in life. And those little
yeah,
things are so, so important.
yeah. And I just know I feel like I've read some of these books behind you. I keep
Oh,
forgetting, like, you're so right, like, I just recently started getting into, like, books again, and, like, that's also just been so wonderful to, like, dive into, and I love the word, like, anytime, like, someone asks me, like, a very quick question, like, "How do you do this? What do you do?" I'm like, "It's passion." You said passion, and I'm like, "Yes." Passion in any sense of your life. That goes for anyone, an engineer, a doctor. You have to have the passion for it, and if you don't, then I feel like that's more it doesn't bring happiness. I mean, theater is all happiness. You have to be happy in order to, like, bring this to different stages and different people. So if you don't know how to put your passion towards other things, then are you actually happy in the things playing pretend, Like, it's not you're playing other people, so I think learning how to put passion into other things as myself is so key to, like, feeling happy whether or not I get a yes or a no.
yeah. And I think that passion is so important because it shows you're pursuing that magic, you're pursuing joy, you're pursuing, I always say storytelling, whether it's on stage or in books, there is this level of magic in creating empathy. I
Mhm.
think when an audience member, a reader, or even the performer themselves stepping into a role has to understand those characters in the story, there's a level of empathy that's created and understanding people who may not be anything like you.
Yeah.
And yet now you get to see a different perspective and you get to hear the story. And I think that there's so much beauty in that. And yeah, like you
Mhm.
said, passion is such an important part of it. And that exists in so many of the shows you've been part of. And so I'm
Mhm.
curious, are there any that stand out more than others when you really just felt the magic on stage? Or even maybe in rehearsal or after if you were meeting audience members, like what has
Mhm.
been the most magical part for you?
I think In the Heights has been the heart of, like, my resume. Um, I've done it multiple times, different roles every time. I would love to be Nina one day, or Vanessa, honestly. Vanessa has a lot of the fun ones. Um, so I like it's just that show that you can keep coming back to. It is the my first, like, summer stock show that I ever did. Um, and while it wasn't my favorite experience with theater, I'll just keep it at that. I made lifelong amazing friends. And I would never give up that community for anything. And just feeling that on stage is one of the first moments that I felt like, wow, like that. One, I see people that are like me, and that's really special to me as a Latina navigating my way through this very whitewashed industry. And uh, just having that, like, that story about, like, family and loss is just something that everyone can relate to. Um, And most recently, I kind of had that feeling again when I did, a show called Life After in Toronto by Britta Johnson, and that was a show about grief, and I'm grateful to have not knocking on wood, I'm grateful to have not had experienced that such close loss, that story was about, but feeling that sense of family that I truly have with the girls that I was lucky enough to be in the show with, and feeling that every night. There was a moment that's super, super hard in that show, for me, that I had to break down, like, like, finally let the grief take over me, and I did that every night, and feeling that support from Isabella Essler and, Marianne Torres, who played my mother and my younger sister, it was just unlike anything else, and honestly, I've still been chasing that feeling ever since. It was just such a beautiful moment, and, that is those shows are very, very special for me, um, that I would love to go back to 'cause it just created something that I've never really felt before. I could probably say that about a lot of these shows, honestly. I feel very, honored to have been a part of a lot of things. Like Dear Evan Hansen, of course, those fans are so special, sharing their stories and sharing how they saw themselves in Evan or in any of Connor and any of the characters that they saw felt in there. And those those themes and those topics are so sensitive, but like special and hard to talk about. And so being able to do a show about it and like I mean, travel it around the country, it was so special. I've met so many amazing people that shared and so were so brave to share their stories with me. I could go down the list of things. We'll be here all day.
I think the beauty of that is the human connection though, whether it's with the
Mhm.
audience or the people you're working with. I mean, I've
Yeah.
heard from so many people that sometimes their experience in a production itself may not have been their favorite, but the people are what made it so special.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's so important. And I know In the Heights in general has been a touchstone in so many people's careers. I know it's one of my shows. I have a Swinito tattoo on me.
My
Yeah,
god, that's
so I love it.
awesome.
I feel the power of it and how important that
Yeah.
story is. And
Yeah.
like you said, Dear Evan Hansen is another one, and such a beautiful production. And I can only imagine what it was like doing it on a national tour where you get to meet so many different types of audience members and
Yeah.
comes with a lot of challenges both logistically and emotionally if you're like going
Mhm.
from theater to theater.
Absolutely.
So what was that experience like, and did you feel like depending on where you perform was there a different energy in the audience?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I think that comes for any, production that you're doing. Like, the one that I mentioned for In the Heights, my first one was in Greenville, South Carolina. That was a completely different experience for me than when I did MT Wichita in the Heights, which was so amazing. I loved MT Wichita. Um, and that was just like doing the same exact show, but in a different community with different teams and different audiences. Like that was like life changing. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. But Dear Evan Hansen specifically, we were year 5, so we went to a lot of smaller theaters and that was really cool because there were so many people that kept, like, DMing us and being like, "Oh my gosh, like, I never thought you guys would come to this city, like, I've loved this show for so long," like, they've listened to the cast recording and they've, like, only dreamed of watching it, and that's so special that, like, yeah, we may have performed in Chicago and during Christmas, but then we were in, like, El Paso, Texas, or, like, Lubbock, Texas, that like, you would never think to go to on, like, a national tour because there's, like, Austin, there's Houston, of course, all the bigger cities, but those were so special because we still connected with those people, and those were honestly some of the people that, like, were brave enough to, like, say, like, "Hey, like, I've connected with the show for so long, and, like, I'm so grateful that you came." Even if you don't think, on the schedule, you're like, "Hmm, I don't know about this city." It's like everyone has had a special moment seeing that show. Um, as I know for myself, like I told you my experience with Wicked, I don't know if I would have had that experience so quickly if I didn't have that tour because that was my experience growing up was just watching the tours at the Broward Center. I didn't go to New York until my sophomore year of college. And that I saw my first Broadway show then, which was Waitress, which was my
Another
favorite
big
show of
one.
all time. Um, but that was such a special moment for me and I was like 20 years old being like freaking out about like my New York experience. So I can't imagine like what it felt like to be in a small town and having such a Tony Award winning musical like come into their town and give a Broadway performance like that. I think I just think about my younger self in 5th grade, like watching it in the rafters, not even seeing their faces, but being like the happiest I've ever been. Um, so yeah, I think that's awesome and special, and that changes the audiences every night. I mean, yeah, truly, night to night. A Tuesday audience will not be the same as a Friday audience. It's awesome, like feeling what's going to change. And I'm about to go to a different city on Monday, so like that'll, Appleton, Wisconsin will be different than Toledo, Ohio. It'll be really cool to see like different audiences.
That's definitely the beauty of live theater, and especially on a tour where you get to experience so many different cities and peoples and audiences.
Hmm.
It just brings a different emotion and vibe, and especially when you're performing the same show, and I use quotes because depending on where you are, depending on the day, it could be a different show. So
Yeah.
I know that that changes a lot
Yeah,
too. But performing the
absolutely.
same songs and the same script more or less, it could get very repetitive. And so I'm wondering if
Mhm.
there is a certain song or performance in any of the productions you've been part of that you will just never get tired of. Like you will feel the magic come alive each and every time.
Ooh. I'm trying to think of a show that I haven't even mentioned. I think A Chorus Line was very special in that way, and I'm thinking because of its a chorus line, depending on who's doing the production, can be very rigid because of, uh, the who's choreographing it and how we want to honor Michael Bennett, and I was very, very lucky to have had the original choreography, so in that way, our bodies always had to kind of do the same thing, um, but in the storytelling, it that was really special to me. I felt very connected to Deanna Morales, and being able to sing "What I Did for Love" every night meant something different to me. Um, and that was very, very sensitive because we had just gotten out of COVID. Like, we were literally doing the production with, like, plastic masks. Ridiculous. But it was it was like the sign of the times. It was truly like we were barely out of the pandemic. We were trying to do the best we could with the knowledge that we had, and that was very, very a sensitive topic. So being able to sing that song, I would sing that song every night, truly. But honestly, the first thing that I thought about was the opening because that is just iconic. And like turning around and just starting that like moment like that on opening night in college. I did it in college and that I'll never forget that feeling of like the roar of the audience like passing by you. I still have yet to feel the roar that I felt in that moment of just, like, turning around and facing away from the mirror and just going for it, like, I could feel that feeling forever and ever. There's nothing like it.
There's such a beauty in that, and you really feel it, and I feel like the audience feels it too, like, it
Yeah,
comes off the
yeah,
performer, so I'm sure your audience just felt that energy coming off of you. And
totally.
you spoke a little bit about dream roles. You mentioned Nina and
Mhm.
Vanessa from In the Heights. Are there
Yeah.
any other roles or productions that would just be like a dream come true for you?
Yeah, well, I mentioned Waitress. I feel like I'm finally starting to age into Jenna, but Sarah Bareilles is, like, my number 1. Waitress is my number 1. I think that'll be, like, my ultimate dream role forever and ever. Of course, Eurydice from Hadestown. I just also, like, just amazing. I feel like I really connect with her and her emotions um, and the music is just stunning, and anything in Hamilton. I'm like, "I want those top
Yeah.
3." I'm like, give me the top 3." I'm like, "I'm basic." I would love to play I mean, I'm partial to Eliza, but Peggy Mariah is awesome too, like, her songs are so good. I would die to be in Hamilton.
Well,
Yeah.
absolutely manifesting, because like I said, I think
Thank you.
everything that you perform in and are part of, especially on a tour and being ready to jump into action is just preparation for everything coming
Mhm.
next in your career. So I'm crossing
Exactly,
my
yeah.
fingers, things will happen. And when they're meant to happen, they're gonna happen.
I
So I
agree.
know they will. But I have to ask, where do you find magic most in your life? And is it only on stage or off the stage? And where do you like look for it?
It kinda sounds woo-woo, but I feel like I find magic in like love, my love for things. I guess back to passion as well. Um, I love animals and I try to see as many animals every day. I feel like that automatically connects me back to our earth, our like just to nature. A bird, a squirrel, as simple as it is, like I get so excited to see them. I miss my cats so dearly, but like it usually is them when I'm home. And I feel like my love for that brings magic into my love for other things. Um, because I feel like my love is very rooted in the earth. I feel like very maternal and I feel very just connected through love. So I'm very deep and I'm very I try to remember as many things as I need for someone, because I feel like that's where magic constantly happens is with the connections of that you with the connections of the people that you talk to every day, because that's inevitable. You're gonna connect with people every day. So I try to find the magic in the little things, literally like hearing a dog bark or, you know, a baby cry, like little things that I think like spark magic within me because it reminds me of life. It reminds me of nature. It reminds me of like where we are and like kind of sometimes gets me out of the clouds because this, like I mentioned before, this career is really hard. And I think if you wait for the magic to be created on stage, then you're not actually living a life for yourself. You're just living a life for something that hasn't even happened yet. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the beauty in what you described is being aware of life, and I think it
Mhm.
makes you a better performer, honestly.
Yeah.
It drives you and goes into your performance, and I think that's when you create the magic. So I think there's just like a push and pull there and a lot of importance in taking in those little things. And
Yeah.
I'm sure you feel that all the time in depending on the production you're in. And with the Great Gatsby, you are have to juggle kind of different roles and be
Mhm.
prepared. So what has the experience been like so far? And what do you think has been the most personally magical or rewarding part for stepping into just the ensemble in general, but then also when you have to fill in for Daisy?
Honestly, the I've never like launched a national tour, so like feeling I'm feeling very grateful and like it's so special to be the first experience for a lot of these audiences. Because a lot I mean, the show's only been on for about, like, 2 or 3 years now on Broadway, so I think it's still pretty new, and a lot of like I said, a lot of people just don't have the opportunity to go to New York or, like, that isn't their option to go when they go over there. There's so many amazing shows, so to bring that around has been really, really special. I think the most exciting part has been just creating a new, like, story for myself every night, like, my ensemble parts, I'm a different person every number that we're doing, um, but creating that story for myself is really, like, has been fun, and for Daisy, I mean, I just I love finding the nuance in her, um 'cause she can very easily become a villain in a lot of people's stories, and unfortunately, the story is about a lot of bad people who did a lot of bad things, but it is also very true to what is going on in our world, so that's been a very fun challenge for me, trying to find her humanity and who she is at her core and what society has m made her be, um and with Jordan, it's been about, like, finding my confidence because she makes things happen. Um, and so that has been very opposite of what I am. It has been very fun, but also scary to explore because, you know, uh new money is a crazy big number, and if you are not ready for this person to drag you there across the stage, it's a little too late, and you gotta go with it, and you gotta make sure it looks like you meant for that. So that'll be very fun when I eventually go on for her. But it's an exciting challenge, honestly, to just like be so like nose up and confident and walk into a room and say yes, I'm taking up space, to truly like there it's a different experience for every single character, and that's been so fun to explore and get to I've been so lucky to like have three very different roles, um that are constantly doing this in my mind every night.
Well, I'm excited for you to explore the role of Jordan when that comes
Me
up
too.
because adding that to your experience so far is gonna be something very special. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for that magic that you're gonna feel. And my last question is, how do you hope to create magic for others?
I love to remind people of reality, of sometimes it the I'm literally looking at the clouds, which is so funny because I was about to say clouds. Um, I think I'm thinking it as like an actor. I think sometimes in this industry, we can get so caught up and that perspective is lost. And so I love trying to serve as a different perspective and offer that. And I think that the same with audiences. My goal is always to tell the story, but in a way that is like to capture the audience's attention. And I don't mean that in any like superficial way, like look at me. Of course, look at me. But I think telling the story in such an authentic and fun way that they can't keep their eyes off of me is such a goal of mine because it means that I'm one telling the story, but two living an authentic moment as that character. Um, that doesn't always happen in the ensemble because we many times are serving as a side situation for the lead. But when I am the lead, I think that has been very important to me to make sure that I am like that is what I want to do. It's I want to give you a story that you didn't think you were going to get, even if you knew the Great Gatsby. To know her in a different way and say, "Wow, Valeria's version is really, really amazing," or whatever adjective you wanna give. I want people to know that that was my version.
And I think you're succeeding in that. I think it shows in the roles that you've been taking on and people clearly see you as and cast you. So I think it's a special experience and I'm sure the audience feels that energy and feels that magic when you perform. So thank you so much for being on. How long
Thank
is the
you.
tour? When does it wrap up?
Oh, it is, uh it's so far there's a year 2 planned. There's no plans as of yet for me. I don't know how long, I'll be with it, but I'm very happy and we'll see what happens. I'm not going anywhere right now. I'm very, very happy, and like I said, I think I think there's at least a year too. Like the Pantages has said their season, and we're part of it. So far 2 years. I don't know.
Awesome. Well, I'm gonna drop, the link to the tour below when I drop this
Awesome.
episode, and also your handle so everyone can follow you.
Please,
Valeria,
yeah.
thank you so much for being on again. Just hearing your story, your journey, your inspiration, so much of it is so relatable, and I know everyone who listens to this episode is gonna feel the same. So thank you for being part of the magic. You're a magic maker, and
Thank you,
I'm happy to
Matthew.
have you on. You're always welcome back in the future when I know your dream roles happen, so we will talk about it again. Um,
Yes.
but thank you for being on, and everyone out there, if you're listening, go out there and do some magic. See you guys.